And welcome. This is Austin Beck-Doss, features reporter here with WRTA Director Tim Nichols and WRTA Business Manager Jesse Grosinger. Welcome, guys. Thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah,
it's nice to have a three-person conversation. I know you guys have similar information and knowledge, but also kind of some different sectors of the WRTA world that you can both speak to. So I'm excited to get the full update as far as what's going on with WRTA these days.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it always helps. I can monologue or discuss ad nauseum. So it's always good to have somebody in the room to go, "Hey, Tim, knock it off." So.
Yeah. I know. I appreciate that too. I'm often doing interviews, and I wish I had a second person with me to keep me on course.
Right.
It's a nice tool.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Let's just start in a general sense. Seasons are changing. We're moving into spring and summer now, and I'm curious what that kind of looks like for WRTA. Like how much of the body's work and active kind of operations are dependent on the seasons, or like how does seasonal change impact WRTA?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's an excellent question. So our overall kind of our rider base is fairly consistent, but historically, if you look over multiple years, you'll see a pretty measurable increase in utilization over the summer months. We could speculate or attribute that to our increase in tourism or whatever the case might be, but you'll see pretty measurable increase on our fixed route service. And I'm particularly excited to see now that our WRTA on demand service in Riverton is really up and running, how that's affected in the summer months. I'm not, we're trying to get the word out too, but I think people don't quite realize, like at the current moment, mobility within the city of Riverton is near limitless between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. You can call. We have an on-demand curb-to-curb based system, and then our fixed route as well for those commuters moving around Fremont County. So as far as Riverton public transit goes, it's definitely on the upward trend, and accessibility has never been easier.
Yeah, that's cool. I know I've learned a little bit about WRTA on demand, but while we're on the subject, it'd be neat to hear the full story on that and how folks exactly can access it. Like who do they call and again, when and where. I know you went over that a little bit, but
sure.
A bit of the backstory about how we got to this point would be neat as well.
Yeah. Okay, you're going to get me on my soapbox, but yeah.
Please. So
initially, as I'm trying to go through the Rolodex in my mind of the timeline here, but the whole process kind of started initially when we were, actually, hold on, let me back that up. Funding shortages is not a unique situation to Fremont County, right? And so public transportation agencies across the state and across the nation, especially in rural areas, are encountering that same challenge of how do we meet our local match. When this got to a flashpoint for the Riverton Senior Center public transit program, their director and I had a conversation, and we couldn't just let the service evaporate. So WRTA committed to onboarding their operation in order to preserve that accessibility in their direct service area, which was the city of Riverton. So that's kind of the backstory of what brings us to the integration, right? And what came from that was WRTA on demand. And so we branded it under the program WRTA on demand, that it was easily understood that it is an on-demand service wherever you need to go, and with the idea that it's scalable in a very easy way. So as demand increases or maybe ventures outside of just the Riverton city limit area, we're able to expand that service as it grows. What we weren't quite prepared for was the adoption. We had some historical figures from the Riverton's public transit program, and so we knew what to anticipate. But much like the Safe Ride program, Riverton really took hold of public transportation and ran with it. And our utilization is up over 40% from when it initially started.
Nice.
And then, not to mention, so kind of the sister program to the On Demand is, our Safe Ride program, which is fare free. So it operates under its own like subsection, so we can deem that service as fare free, and the other operates with fare. And the same story occurred, especially within the federal fiscal year 26, and just since October. Utilization of that service has increased almost triple digit.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah. And so all of these numbers, I'd hate to bore everybody with all of it, but just to put it in perspective, is the cumulative total of our demand response riders for our federal fiscal year to date, so just October through now, is already over 25% increase from our entirety, or the entire cumulative total of our previous fiscal year.
All right.
So that's a really complex way of saying that ridership is through the roof. Riverton is doing phenomenal at kind of embracing public transportation and seeing the benefit, both economically and socially. And we're getting to a point where I really want to outreach to our riders and to the public, especially in Riverton, just to start gaining testimony of how has this impacted your life? Because I'm seeing the data on my side. FTA or in Wrta are seeing the data as well, but I want to see the personal piece of it, right? I think with anybody in public service, genuinely in public service, there's that sense of community. And I want to know why we come to work every day is actually impacting the lives of the community members here. So, I mean, for the listeners here, I'll be in touch or reach out to me.
Thank your drivers.
Thank your drivers. My goodness,
Tell them they're doing a good job.
Absolutely. And and again, I can get so caught up in the numbers, but I think behind those numbers, right? And Jesse brings up a good point. Our team at WRTA over the last, just few months even, they've embraced change so well. We just had a staff meeting this last weekend, and I really gave testament to that's very uncommon for a staff or a team of our size, but not great. But we have 27 employees.
Okay.
To really embrace change and grit the teeth, put on the Wyoming hat, and let's do it. And they've done such a tremendous job of that. And so everybody, all of our drivers, our dispatchers, our management staff, our business staff, they've done such an amazing job over the last few months. And I couldn't be more grateful.
Yeah, that's a great, shout out to the drivers and the folks that make all this possible in some ways behind the scenes. And thanks for that overall recap. I did not really realize that, this recent period of time has had that uptick, and that's great news. I'm happy to hear it. Seems like 2026 so far has been a good year for WRTA and ridership in that way. And and the on-demand service is so cool. I wonder if there's some way we've been able to see that the folks who previously used the service from the senior center have kind of made that transition in a way that's worked for them.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think I'd mentioned before, and so I won't be too repetitive, but when we were initially onboarding that program, I was having everybody hand out my card because I wanted to hear directly. Like if we're missing the beat somewhere, I want to know about it. And so there was a huge uptick on my incoming calls for a brief moment, but I think we've done a pretty good job of answering those concerns and really adjusting to those users that used it before and are continuing to use it now. But all that to say is that we don't want those concerns just disappear. If there's still continued concerns,
absolutely
reach out to our staff. Our staff are wonderful people. They will write it down. We will investigate it. We will try to resolve it the best we can, and then we'll follow up. And so, I really want to encourage that, especially at WRTA. We're open door. Come on in. Let us know how we're doing. Keep us up to date all the way through it.
We can't fix it if we don't know if it's happening.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
if there's any issues, absolutely reach out to us. We want to be better.
Yeah.
Cool. And just to close the loop on the direct service, is there a phone number that folks call that you could share? And then also, what exactly shows up? Is it the same bus that operates on the fixed line, or is it a different vehicle?
That's an excellent question. And so, I'll plug the number 856-WRTA. That's 9782. Call that at any time while we're operating. Our dispatch staff, again, wonderful people, always willing to help, answer questions, help you figure out how to use the system. And so that was the part I kind of glossed over earlier. So thank you for bringing it up. Is if you want to use the system, that's the number to call, right? Give us a call, download the CTS Trip Portal app. You can request the ride on there for demand response. But to get to your question, there is it is not the same buses that operate on our fixed route service. Though we can't guarantee it's the same driver and same bus every time, right? We have a lot of staff, and some are rotating at WRTA, but you call, you request the ride. Our dispatch staff, again, does a wonderful job trying to coordinate to your preferences. We do have a dynamic scheduling software, so it kind of tells us the most efficient and effective way and where to schedule it. And then the bus shows up. Actually, I'll back that up just slightly. As soon as the driver and the dispatch is confirmed that driver is on the way, having either completed his last ride or picked somebody up and you're next on the pickup list, you'll get a phone call. You'll get a phone call notifying you that the driver's on the way. And then when our driver gets to your location, they'll indicate that they've arrived. And our dispatch staff will call the individual as well, just to notify them if they're not already outside.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm sure there's many people in Riverton who rely on that as an essential service, to get around, to get groceries. And so, I'm glad to live in a place where folks have access to that kind of thing. So
absolutely,
it's really cool to hear about that. Y'all have tackled that and it's up and running.
Yeah.
And well.
Yeah.
But I did want to bring you in a little bit here.
Absolutely.
Again, we have Jesse Grosinger with us this morning as well, a WRTA business manager. Jesse, I understand you started with WRTA in December, so you've had some time, but also relatively recent addition to the team, and it'd be neat to hear a little bit about your experience so far, what kind of brought you in initially, and what you're working on your end.
Well, I actually knew Tim in Laramie, where I'm from.
Nice.
And then he let me know that there's an opportunity here, so I jumped on it, came out here to work for WRTA, and it's been, man, I hit the ground sprinting. We had an audit right at the end of the year. We had a lot of budgeting to catch up on, but through my experience and stuff, it's been nose to the grindstone, but we got it done. We're on track. We're ready to tackle the future and be on top of it and be a responsible public transit entity for Riverton, Lander, DuBois, Shoshone, all of Fremont County.
Yeah, well said. And, on the subject of, Tim, you mentioned earlier that in Fremont County, funding challenges are sort of part of our reality across the board, from top to bottom as far as services and resources. And so right now the county's in an interesting process related to, that's one way to put it, related to the potential of a sales tax initiative on the ballot, possibly the primary, possibly the general. We're still kind of working some of those things out at the county level, but the idea at this current juncture is for that money raised to fund key services, including ground transportation, therefore WRTA and what you all do. And so I know throughout the last year and more, I know this goes back pretty deep, you all have been involved in trying to come up with a solution in a way that is considerate of all of the municipalities in the county and their resources and needs, and also considerate of the other key services that this tax could potentially fund, which are ambulance, emergency medical services, and also the airport. And so, yeah, we don't have to get all the way back to the beginning, but maybe in some overview way, you could tell me about WRTA's participation in that process and
Sure.
How it's gone.
If you don't mind, I can start, and then you can go on your soapbox. So just to give some background, WRTA is part of FCAG, Fremont County Association of Governments, which is a joint powers board. Basically, we have all the municipalities as our board members to help run WRTA. So we're more or less a government entity providing public transit. And in that, we're kind of participating in that discussion about that, helping sort it out through the Joint Powers Committee.
Joint Committee.
My bad.
Funding key services,
And they've more or less just hashed out the wording that's going on the ballot. And like I said earlier, it's more or less we're putting the horse before the cart. We're getting how we're going to get money so that we can build the cart. That's our next step on how we're going to make that tax function. And that will be a separate committee that will be having public meetings. So I encourage anybody that is listening to come participate in those meetings, get the nitty-gritty details, and your opinions matter. Like, we're public. We're part of the government. So it's come participate. That's how you get change to happen.
We're from the government and we're here to help.
No. But it's a sales tax, so to make you feel a little bit better about taxes, it's not just our monies going into that tax. It's all our tourists coming through buying stuff. That tax that we collect goes up, and it'll come back down into this economic development tax. And our part in it is the public transit, which is probably going to be the smallest part, but we're going to hopefully be that non-emergency transportation to appointments for our aging demographics. Your parents that need to go to that appointment, but you don't have time because you're working, give WRT a call now. Like, it doesn't have to be in the future. You can call now, set up that pickup and drop off, and we can coordinate that. We also have our fixed route between Lander, Fremont, Shoshone. There's a stop in Washakie and Du Bois.
Yeah.
So that's how you'd get in between there, and then you can coordinate with our on-demand to get anywhere within there. Yeah. So the freedom of movement that we offer is vital, and that's how you're going to get Riverton dollars to end up in Shoshone or Du Bois, or Lander dollars to end up in Riverton or Shoshone. Like, we can really pool our resources by giving freedom of movement to everybody.
I think that you highlighted a couple points there that I think merit a little bit of discussion. And I'd like to hit on it from a public transportation perspective again. Is non-emergency medical transportation. It's kind of it's a new topic of discussion, not just in Wyoming, but just across all national public transit agencies. And so I know there's some skeptics or some critics that don't see the advantage of the public transportation element of what this is, but I've informed to the best of my ability some of the links that connect all of these pieces. And for public transportation, there's a kind of a subsection called non-emergency medical transportation, and its intention is to kind of offload the burden of those non-emergency medical transportation trips that would otherwise be handled through EMS, right? So EMS services are incredibly costly. I think the committee found that out, and just my observation by watching the committee work. Holy cow! You're talking a substantial expense.
Sure.
And that's at its current formatting, right? That's its current operational structure, and so, which I think the entire community could agree is probably lacking. It could use with some growth itself, but when you're looking at those costs, I believe that the Department of Health. I think if I remember right, it was like $500,000 per ambulance operating was the anticipated cost. That's the annual operating cost. So it was something pretty large there.
Yeah.
So anyways, public transportation, where's that come into it? Well, if properly coordinated, that that non-emergency or NEMT can really relieve a substantial section of financial burden to that EMS system, so that they are freed up to operate to those primary emergency needs. So public transportation plays a role in many things. Transportation to and from the airport, for that matter. And this is where I'll get where I have a tendency to get on the soapbox and go into I think you heard me the other day at the county commission meeting, my 45-minute transit TED talk, right? I'm committed to the community at one point I'll occupy the mic at one point and do my 45-minute transit TED talk, but I don't want to put everybody through that just yet. But there's things to consider, and from just an informative standpoint. I could pile study on top of study on top of study of you want to see the economic impact of public transportation in a rural setting. Here you go. Peer-reviewed studies, data to just back up data to back up data. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, if people don't see that value directly, it's hard to communicate that. And I think that's where Jesse has kind of mentioned something that's really important is, it might not be something you use every day, but it might be something your parents or your grandparents might use or might need in the near future. Yeah. Right.
Well, it's a reality of Wyoming's demographics currently.
Absolutely.
We're all fully aware that we have an aging demographics. Yeah. We have retired people moving into Wyoming. Our young people are choosing to move somewhere else. But what we can do as WRTA is just accommodate what's happening. Yeah. And let the legislature figure out how to get young people here.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned something that kind of caught me, but it was the freedom of mobility. Mm-hmm. I think at the core, right, is this proposed tax really emphasizes that freedom of mobility, right? If you're looking from an EMS perspective or from a commercial air service perspective or the ground transportation perspective, it really does emphasize freedom of mobility, right. Which to somebody like me, who's just a transit geek, freedom of mobility does directly tie to freedom in everyday life. I know it's a hard concept to grasp, but public transportation in some form or fashion is the future of mobility. It's a growing industry, and one of the most important things to kind of recognize with that is costs and affordability. I think you go to fuel up right now, you're going to feel that, right? Oh, yeah. I think I drove past the gas station this morning and it was $3.99 a gallon, I think.
$3.97 at Maverick.
Ooh. And so, a $2 bus fare, it looks pretty attractive at that point. Mm-hmm. So then our responsibility really is to meet the need, right? So if it's inconvenient to take the bus, I want to hear from you. Like I want somebody on my phone to tell me what is the need you see, and we will do everything in our power to meet that need. Absolutely. So I think it just goes in. I can monologue on that for hours, but really, public transportation has a role to play, whether it be in your MT or your metro settings in Denver, or whether it be in rural Fremont County. I also, it's a huge testament to not only the work of the team, but kind of the direction we're putting WRTA on is we're leading. We are moving forward in such a way that our intention is to lead by example for the entire state. Mm-hmm. We aren't waiting around to see, what the state's ready to adopt. And, you can search through the regulations and you'll see gray areas, which we had a meeting yesterday, identified a million gray areas because public transit's not really defined. Mm-hmm. Right. So Wyoming's figuring it out. We're a little behind the curve because public transportation has not been a main focal point in the past. And I mean, as long as I'm here, I'll ring that gong until I'm not here anymore. Public transportation has its place in rural settings, and that's just the reality of it. But I digress. I am way into my transit TED talk at this point, so
you're good.
Yeah, I'll hand the mic off to
shout
somebody.
out Token Transit, our app that we use that makes it easy to pay those fares.
Cool.
Yeah, download the app.
Download the app, select WRTA, and it'll show you all the different options.
Yeah.
I believe on demand's on there. Our fixed routes are on there. You can do a month. You can do right then and there.
Yep.
And our drivers are aware of it, so no worries about trying to figure out, what do I do when I show it to the driver?
Yeah, so if you don't have cash in your pocket, just pull out your phone and download the app real quick, Token Transit.
And we want to make sure that we make it convenient for people, but also offer the cash options for the people that don't want to use apps.
Yeah.
Or maybe they don't have a smartphone. We have those people in Wyoming, and they're, by all means, have the same rights as everybody else to ride our bus.
Yep.
Very cool. So the app is called Token Transit, and by downloading that, you can pay for rides ahead of time or with your phone on site at the moment. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool. Good for folks to know. And yeah, thanks a lot to both of you for kind of going over some of the kind of the WRTA side of this sales tax initiative that is ongoing. And yeah, just to, finish on that a little bit. I found what you were saying really interesting, both of you, Jesse and Tim, about, freedom of mobility being the link between the three key services that are on that initiative as proposed. I think in some ways, to me, I was thinking of them as three separate key services, not entirely seeing the connection between them. Yeah. So I think it's helpful to see it as like this quality of life thing. Like it's all about the freedom to get where you want to go, whether that's to Denver or out of state or within your own community or in case of an emergency. Those are all united by this idea of movement and the ability to get around when we need to. Yeah. And I think for voters, that's also a worthwhile consideration. I imagine this language as written that is proposed for the ballot could be kind of confusing to some folks. And my hope is that, people can find ways to see the connection between the key services and to understand exactly what might be on the ballot. Again, I say might because the process is still up in the air, but we shall see. And hopefully the clarity continues to develop.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something also that it just kind of triggered in my brain when you were talking. So that ballot language as well, something that I know was considered in great depth was the allocation, the direct allocation, and I think it's interesting to see how it came out, but costs fluctuate on an annual basis, and kind of to that EMS cost breakout that was eye-opening, to say the least. EMS costs could increase greatly just over the year, and so kind of a priority of the committee that really spent 6 months, mind you, meeting weekly, to really thoroughly and thoughtfully vet out the options to kind of ultimately determine the best foot forward. Mind you, I mean, all of these meetings were public. I think recorded as well. I think Wrta Today did a couple different updates. Because I know there was reporters in the room, and so I couldn't be more impressed with the amount of community engagement that came forward. Former political officials and present that offered insights as well. I mean, it was such an inspirational process to watch, right? I think everybody everybody jokes about how the sausage is made, right? And really to have watched it in such a transparent manner come forward. I mean, obviously any tax or any proposition, I think, has its critics. But it was truly inspiring to see that, this just wasn't a closed door conversation where, the men in cloaks were defining it out. No, I mean, this was community members, right? These were actually no elected officials were on the committee. They were appointed through FCAG through an application process. Yep. and really inspirational to see some very green community engaged officials, right, had not been on a board or a committee of any kind, and some who had served in different roles before, come together and do such an amazing job. I think it's really worth crediting everybody who took time out of their day to recognize the amount of effort and education that went into that 6-month process to bring forward this idea. And so it was incredibly inspirational to see that process and kind of reinstate that, or reinstate some confidence in myself, I guess, that Fremont County politics can be transparent and you can watch it work through, right? We might not all agree, which is fine. I think healthy discourse and
that's how you have a good discussion.
Absolutely.
Is disagreement.
Yeah.
If everybody agreed, we just what would be the point?
Yeah.
Tim, before you go on, with the committee, people apply to be a part of that committee, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Where do they apply? I think that might be something.
Oh.
If a listener is interested in being part of that next committee,
right?
Yeah,
right,
great point.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. So, again, I think you brought up that this is all kind of fluid right now. We're not 100% sure where this is going to go in the future, but I think the intention, at least at the next FCAG meeting, which for current moment is tomorrow, they're going to be discussing a couple items, and one is the work of the Joint Committee on Funding, which identified the mechanism in which the funds might come from. And then really what came out of the community as a response was some genuine concerns about the service or the provision of ambulance service in Fremont County. And so FCAG took that seriously. And I know Mayor Highsmith in Shoshone really thought that it was worth a deeper investigation. And so he kind of spearheaded an attempt to bring a group together that might collaboratively and community in a community sense holistically evaluate what is our best options. And so I'll preface everything saying that I am far from the expert, right? I'm just a public transit guy, so take what I say or leave it. It doesn't matter to me. This is just my perspective. But from FCAG's standpoint, they'll be having a discussion on what that next committee will look like. So I encourage you to reach out to your elected officials. I'm not 100% sure what the application process might look like. However, I think what's important to take away from that is stay engaged.
Absolutely.
Stay engaged, be engaged. If you have an opinion, don't think it's not worthwhile to try and voice that opinion. I think, that grassroots efforts or the grassroots of efforts really do render the best results.
Absolutely. You'll get what you want.
Absolutely. Maybe.
Well, yeah, because sometimes, like you said, opinions differ.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thanks for that, both of you. I think it's certainly enlightening to hear what's behind a ballot proposition. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And certainly in this case, a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of people kind of volunteering their time and also their insight to get us to a point where we've got something that hopefully is considerate of the community in a holistic way, as you say. And,
Absolutely.
And we'll see what happens from here.
Yeah.
Well, last thing I wanted to ask you guys about today, yesterday, Tim, at the County Commissioners meeting, you did give a bit of an update on a study that I believe is in partnership with the Community Transportation Association of America. And that study, its process and its results could mean a lot of interesting knowledge gained and possibly kind of more resources in the future for public transportation in Fremont County. So would you mind telling us a little bit about that study and where we're at in that process?
Absolutely. So there were officials from CTAA in Fremont County. Oh man, 4 weeks ago, maybe now.
It's been a blur.
Yeah, it's been a blur. Been a lot going on at WRTA, but
sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right. They were here. They met with quite a few individuals, and I also want to really emphasize how I guess great it was to meet with the Wind River Intertribal Council. We coordinated that meeting between CTAA. And really an opportunity to identify where we still have some transportation gaps, right? And what CTAA is best at is kind of evaluating public transportation within a region and using the tools at its disposal, right, in order to fill some of those gaps. And so I really was encouraged that we were able to make that connection, and we'll maintain that moving forward. But CTAA is evaluating WRTA as the subject of this study. But the study overall is going to measure kind of a sustainable path forward for public transportation in rural settings. We were one of 3 projects picked in the United States to be funded through this program.
Wow.
And so it's a huge testament to our community here and kind of the pieces that we hold right here in our community that make us so unique. And really a challenge to figure out how we make all those pieces work together, right? So what this study is gonna do is really evaluate all of the tools that are available at our disposal and how we use those tools to build out sustainable public transportation in a rural setting. So like I said, WRTA is merely the subject of this, but the findings of this study are going to be huge for rural public transit agencies in the state. It could be duplicated, it could be modified, it could be adjusted, but it really sets that foot forward of what does public transportation look like. So they were here, they met with stakeholders, they got a chance to speak with us directly, our staff, evaluate our vehicles, our facility and its capabilities. And they've since returned to their office, and they're doing the hard work now of doing all that evaluation. And we do anticipate the findings of the study probably by June of this year.
Okay.
And I'm really excited to see what it'll look like. We'll fully or comprehensively evaluate our services, including our fixed route. So some of the findings might recommend some changes, and I'm excited. I've never been one to stray away from change, so we're excited to see what those changes might be, and how the community might have greater access to transportation because of it. So.
And I'll be the one to make sure he doesn't change too much. Too fast.
Right. Yeah.
Gotta do it right.
Yep. Got to do it right.
The study is the first good step.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Shout out to also Fremont County in this study has opened doors for other rural communities for funding opportunities. Yeah. So not only are we like impacting the data for rural transportation, we're impacting funding opportunities for other rural communities. Yeah. So just by participating, we're opening the eyes to the nation of what that looks like. Yeah. So we're kind of like, it's a big deal. And I think, sometimes we get caught up in all the details of the study and,
it's just
and all the numbers and how cool it is. But the end thing is like 1 of 3 nationwide is huge.
Yeah. It seems in a lot of ways, Fremont County through the study is kind of serving as a model for similar scale rural communities across the state and country, potentially going forward as a real resource of insight and knowledge, and we stand to benefit too. I'm excited to see what the findings hold when those come out in June. Once again, I'm here with the Wind River Transportation Authority Director Tim Nichols and also Business Manager Jesse Grosinger. Is there anything else, guys, that you would like to share with listeners today as far as what the WRTA is up to or has on the horizon? I know we've covered quite a bit, but just want to give you one last chance to plug programs, events, anything of the sort.
I've been taking notes, so we can run through our whole little... I don't know how long we've been going, but we'll do a quick run through. We had increased ridership month over month. People are taking a liking to our on-demand system.
Absolutely.
As well as our fixed route. We talked a bit about sales tax. Emphasize that it's sales tax, so those tourists, those greenies we don't like coming up here, we're taking their money and we're going to use it for economic development. We also shout out to Safe Ride Fridays. We didn't mention Fridays and Saturdays from 6 p.m. to midnight. Yep. If you call it midnight, they'll run you to wherever you need to go, but past midnight, they're not going to take you. Yes. No age limits on that. You don't have to be drunk either.
That is true.
Good distinction. If you want to go to the grocery store at 6 p.m. and don't want to pay fare on Friday, you can call Safe Ride and we'll give you a ride.
Cool.
Yeah. And I'll have to correct, 13 years or older rides by themselves.
Okay.
Or is eligible to ride public transportation by themselves. And anybody under 13 does need it. Yeah.
There you go. And then CTAA, one of 3 nationwide, as well as Fremont County opening up opportunities for other rural communities. I think that's so cool and so important to shout out that Fremont County is unique and special and showing the way for other communities like us.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Good recap there. And it generally feels like an exciting time for WRTA with ridership, new programs blossoming, and more of the same on the horizon. I've been thinking it would be neat to just ride the fixed route one day and get a sense of it for myself and possibly, write something for the newspaper about the experience, because I think I've taken a couple short trips, but just to get that firsthand experience, I think for me as a community member, would be neat to get to know.
If I can recommend, the morning route from Lander to Riverton is great because you get to watch sunrise.
Right.
And we have such good sunrises and sunsets here. We have the winds. Like, it's just a great environment to be in. I love this place.
Yeah.
Good point. I bet you also get a nice experience from Riverton to Lander at dusk.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I love that drive when I go home from work in the evening to Lander.
Let somebody else do the driving.
Yeah.
You get to sightsee.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, guys. It's been Tim Nichols, WRTA Director, and Jesse Grosinger, WRTA Business Manager. We appreciate you coming in and spending some time with us to give us the update on public transportation in Fremont County.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Today's show is brought to you by Porter's Mountain View Supply in Riverton. Porter's carries quality grills built for flavor, performance, and durability. Whether you are cooking for a crowd or just firing it up on a weeknight, their team can help you find the grill that fits how you cook and how often you use it. They also stock a full lineup of grilling accessories, including pellets, charcoal, seasoning, tools, thermometers, covers, and cleaning supplies. From low and slow smoking to quick and easy backyard meals, Porter's has the products that help you get better results every time. You'll find Porter's Mountain View Supply at 750 East Sunset Drive in Riverton, or give them a call at 307-856-6066.